Today, I have decided to do live and show you a very easy, very simple, very healthy seasonal recipe. How you can use your cucumbers. Obviously, you can just eat them fresh in a salad or whatever, but you can also enhance their nutritional properties and ferment them, because fermentation does enhance and does make the your ingredients, your food, more nutritionally dense, right? So we will talk about that a little bit later. Oh, let me just set up a little bit better. Um, but first, my name is Anna, and I am a fermenter for probably over 12 years now. I ferment in my kitchen for around 15 years, and I teach fermentation in North London and around London for over 10 years now. I also do online classes, but mainly my interest stemmed from the health issue of my son who had eczema, and I wanted to get to the bottom of basically that problem, and digging into the topic of health. Obviously, I came across lots of things, and one of them was gut health, gut microbiome. I was completely blown away, fascinated by this entity, so to say. And one of the things, well, very quickly researching, I realized that sorting your gut health will basically sort your overall physical health and psycho-emotional health. So one of the things to keep the gut microbiome healthy is to consume fermented foods. My origin is Russian, and I've seen my mom all my life fermenting cabbages, making sauerkraut. We even had a kombucha scoby in the house, and for me it was such a natural thing to just start making my own. So I started with sauerkraut, and then I live in North London. We've got this ginger beer sold as a soft drinks and drink in shops, and I was fascinated how to make that. So I started making that, and that's how it sort of snowballed into me doing sourdough bread, fermenting my own ketchup, making all sorts of vegetable ferments, fruit ferments. I mostly do lactic acid fermentation. Kombucha, I got into kefir, water and milk. And so still 15 years going on and still counting, I'm still really fascinated, very interested, and excited every time to make this stuff, and of course consume. Yeah, I do eat and drink a lot of my ferments. And today I thought, why don't I show you how to easily, quite quickly, turn your average veg into something more nutritionally dense, something that has probiotics, something that has prebiotics, organic healthy acids that are really, really good aiding your digestion, and not just that, overall health as well. They have extra vitamins, minerals that are in the vegetables are becoming more bioavailable, easier to digest, easier to assimilate for their body. Of course, there are also digestive enzymes. So when you eat your main food with your little cucumbers, fermented cucumbers, or maybe sauerkraut or kimchi, you get those digestive enzymes that help your body to digest the main dish, the main food that you are eating. And so overall, win-win. Plus, it's amazingly tasty. Like, how can you not ferment, and how can you not enjoy that? Anyways, let's quickly do it. It's not going to be long. Yeah, let's start our ferment. I have already prepared my vegetables. Yeah, and I will give you variations of this as well. This is very similar to oisabagi, which is a Korean variation of cucumber kimchi, but we're not going to do cucumber kimchi. We're just going to go almost to the kimchi side. Yeah. And mind you, kimchi can be different colors, not just red. Anyways, we are going to start. Let me just put it aside. So I've got cucumbers, I've got carrot. You don't have to. Yeah, it can be just cucumbers. You don't need the carrot. Yeah, all those ingredients, they can be substituted with different stuff, other things. I've got some spring onion. I've got some already cleaned three, well, two and a half, yeah, because one is very small, cloves of garlic and some ginger. I've got organic ginger, very nice, very good quality. That yellow one, the yellow one inside, not very hairy. And so I'm not going to even clean it, because I don't really need to. We are going to, obviously I have salt. I've got my bowl where I'm going to put everything together, and we are going to start with cucumbers. Now you can do, probably you've seen on Instagram, beaten cucumber recipe. Possibly you've seen it, maybe not. So you can beat that cucumber just like that. You can chop it in literally slices. You can do whatever you want with it. Yeah, you can even, where is it? You can even use the vegetable peeler and make those ribbons, long and pretty ribbons. This is really up to you how you want to approach the cutting of the cucumber. What I'm going to do, I'm going to cut it in half lengthways and then quarter, and probably this cucumber, it will be up 3 times. Yeah, so this is the size that I'm gonna have. What else I haven't done is, what are we going to do before I continue cutting? I'm going to cut those off, just the ends. We need to measure for us to know how much salt to use, we need to weigh the cucumbers so we know how much salt we will need. Let's do that right now. Put my weights. My weights. We're going to use 2%. So I'm going to do this and that. So altogether I have 360. Yeah, so 360, I'm going to leave those pieces here. 360 times 2 divided by 100, that's your 2% of salt that we are going to need. Yeah, so it's around 7 grams, right? So it's a bit more than a teaspoon of salt. So I'm going to continue chopping my cucumbers exactly the same way. You might be chopping them different way. All goes, I'll do like this. All goes in. And it can be absolutely any type of cucumbers. Can be that long thing that that they sell at the supermarket. Could be cucumbers that you grow in your garden, your allotment. Really doesn't matter. Yeah, so that's what we've got. Now I'm going to measure. I'm going to use the scales for the salt. The salt that I normally use for this type of, any type of ferment. I've got here sea salt, coarse sea salt. Unrefined, yeah, this is what I would recommend. Could be any of the natural unrefined salts. I would stay away from table salt, simply because there's just 2 minerals and anti-caking agents and God knows what else, right? So I would really normally stay away from that sort of salt, and use some natural unrefined salt, sea salt, Himalayan salt, and some other varieties. There's lots of different salts out there. So we need around, 36 by, we need around 7-8 gram of salt. So that will be like, and a little bit more, a little bit less salt is not going to be crucial. Yeah. So a few grams here, a few grams there, it's not going to make huge difference. So what I'm going to do now, going to use a tablespoon because I don't want to go with my hand. But you could, yeah, I actually can. Actually, what I can do is wear my glove. I don't have to do the glove, yeah, and just sort of mix this together. What we want to achieve here is we want the salt, because the minute the salt gets into the vegetables, it creates osmotic pressure and starts drawing out all that lovely juice from the cucumber. And fermentation to set up the optimal environment for fermentation, for lactic acid fermentation, we need anaerobic environment. Yeah, so let's probably do a little revision of what fermentation is. And fermentation is a process where different microorganisms, in our case mostly lactic acid bacteria, they break down sugars, they break down carbohydrates, continue mixing, and all that happens in anaerobic environment without oxygen. What they do, why they break down those sugars? Well, they use them to, microorganisms use those sugars to create energy for their own life. That's how they multiply, that's how they grow. Basically, bacteria cannot but ferment. Yeah, that's what it does. And anaerobic environment, how we create that? Well, we submerge everything under brine. Very simple. Here I'm using, at this moment, I'm using dry salting method, meaning I don't use any water. We might, however, need some water, because usually this recipe I prepare this sort of salted cucumbers in advance, 2-3 hours in advance. Yeah, we're not going to do that now, but if you do this beforehand, just give it a little stir, maybe for a minute or so, cover it and leave it for a couple of hours to just sit there. It will create that salt, still creating that osmotic pressure, will draw enough juices to create enough brine to submerge everything basically under brine and create anaerobic environment without oxygen. Yeah, we're not going to do that now. We're not going to wait for 2 hours. We're just going to do it just like that, a little bit. So this is lactic acid fermentation. Yeah, our role as fermenters mostly is to know that we need to, that there is some certain environment, optimal environment, that will harbor good bacteria. Yeah, that will help grow the bacteria that we want to transform this food into something amazingly tasty and healthy, right? And we need to know what this environment is. And mostly this is to do with anaerobic environment without oxygen. So as fermenters, we understand that we are relying, to start the fermentation, we are relying on native bacteria and yeasts that live on the cucumbers, raw cucumbers. If your ingredients are cooked, there's a little bit different story. Yeah, we're not going to go there today. But if it's raw ingredients like that, carrot, like these spring onions, cabbage, cucumbers, we rely on native bacteria. What I mean by that is that we do not need to introduce any starters, anything at all. Yeah, so this is it basically. So even cucumbers and salt is enough to start the fermentation. And so our goals as fermenters is to create the perfect environment, yeah, which we are going to do in a minute, and then maintain that same environment throughout the fermentation. Fermentation usually happens at room temperature, and this will be a very fast ferment, probably 3-4 days at room temperature. Yeah, so all these 3-4 days, we need to maintain the environment. It's very, very simple. Nothing, you wouldn't need to do much. I'm going to explain everything as we go. So already by manipulating these cucumbers for like probably 5 minutes, how long am I chatting here? Yeah, I've got a little pool of water here of the natural juices. So what we're gonna do now? So now we want to, well, first of all, I'm going to take this off for now. And we are going to proceed to the rest of the ingredients, right? So the next ingredient is actually carrot. You can just use normal grater to grate it. You can, if you're really good with a knife, you can chop it into kind of like a very small, thin, tiny, long, probably, matchsticks. Yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this lovely device that I've got. This is a grater with sort of, you see, I'm not sure what's the name of it in English. But anyways, I'll show you what it does. It does those matchsticks, but very, very small. So this is the thing that it does. Yeah, very different to a normal grater. So I'm just going to continue. If you're using this, be very careful with your fingers. Use a metal glove, especially designed for this. Or in my case, this little thingy that I'm going to use. This actually goes straight into our cucumbers. It's 2 ways, so it's really fast. Done. So this goes to the cucumbers. The carrot could have been a bit smaller, but those carrots will be really tasty as well. So why not? Yeah. While we are chopping things, good to remember to stir this, to flip this around, so even more juices are created through our while we're doing other things. Another suggestion is we're going to I want to grate those garlic and ginger. You can, this is a small grater, you can again chop it. If you're really fast and good with your knife and you enjoy this, you can chop it really small, sort of like also kind of similar matchsticks. Yeah, that's how I usually do it, but I'm not going to waste our time today. I want to make it everything quite fast. Yeah, and so I'm just going to grate it. That's even faster. Like this. Like this. And I'm going to do exactly the same with ginger. Together with the skin, because this is organic ginger, very good quality. It's sort of a yellow type inside, you know, sometimes it's white inside with lots of hairs, and this one is yellow inside. If you've got hairs, just going to set them aside for now, and then just chop them up a little bit. I usually don't throw anything away. There we go. So our ginger, the hairs, we can just chop a little bit. It's not much hairs here. Yeah, for just nicer sort of consistency and texture. Yeah, this is what we've got. Again, we remember to stir it about a little bit. Yeah, and we continue on to the spring onion. Spring onion, you can just chop it like this in some large chunks. You can chop it really fine. What I'm going to do, and what I prefer to do in such ferments, is kind of like at an angle. Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it at an angle. You know, like they chop spring onions at Chinese takeaway. Sort of that style. So they're kind of like long, sort of like that. Yeah, I really like, visually it's really nice. So this is what I'm gonna take here. So all of them are chopped beautifully, nicely. There you go. Almost there. There you go. Yeah, so this is our spring onions. They go in, and I've got this last, there you go, and I've got this last bit. Well, actually there will be another thing. It could be chili flakes, could be just chili powder. Yeah, this chili you add to taste. It could be fresh chili again. Yeah, so anything. I've got this dried chili. I'm just going to chop it up and pretend it's flakes. Yeah, I'm gonna hold it so it doesn't fly about. Usually it tends to do that. You don't need the chili. You can decide to opt out. That's really up to you. If you want to add the red color in here, you can go with Bulgarian soft sweet pepper. Yeah, and just maybe long strips, maybe cubes, maybe, I don't know. It's really, how you chop this is really up to you. So it's pleasing to the taste and visual, right? So this is what I've got. This goes in. Another thing, I am going to add simply for the tastes, yeah, for my taste buds, is a little bit of honey, natural honey. I've got some raw natural honey, and I'm going to use it. Just like this little tiny, it's not even teaspoon. It's probably like about a teaspoon. What I'm gonna do is put on my glove and literally just mix everything together. Yeah, again, you don't have to do the honey, but I like to do the honey. There you go. Mix everything together. Our goal is not to crush the cucumbers. We just want to gently rub everything together and to dissolve whatever salt is left, and to redistribute all the honey that we just added here. Yeah, and also obviously we have some grated ginger, we have some grated garlic. We want to redistribute that and mix everything properly. Yeah, this is what we mainly doing, at the same time creating even more juices. So we have that natural brine that we are later going to, in a minute, going to use to create anaerobic optimal environment for the growth of good bacteria. So there's no bad guys. Yeah, look, this is already very pretty. This is already kind of like you want to eat that. So at this point, you can taste this. It will, of course, not be, it wouldn't have that fermented sort of umami taste as yet, but it will be a good indicator of the taste, of the flavor. So at this point, you can say, well, taste for salt. Yeah, it should be salty enough for you. And taste for the rest of the things, like there's a little bit of honey here. Yeah, there's a little bit garlic and ginger. So overly should be really nice to just eat like that. So I'm going to give it another stir. Sometimes I add some of my kombucha in here. So if you've got kombucha, I would probably do that. Not as a starter or anything like that. It's just because why not, basically. Do I have... I don't have kombucha here, so that's okay. I'm not going to add anything. What I have already prepared is I have already sterilized my jar, which means that I have boiled some water and poured over some boiling hot water over getting all the sides. Yeah, you don't have to fill up the jar, just getting all the sides and a little bit inside. And then I swished it around and discarded. That's it. Yeah, do not go in with clean towels and napkins and whatever and try drying it out. That's not a good idea. We do not want to introduce foreign microbiome here, like some strange bacteria. You don't want to do that. The same I've done with the lid. Yeah, also boiling water and just discard it. That's it. What we're going to do, I'm not sure if this will be, yeah, it should be fine. Anyways, what we're going to do now is fill up the jar with, so basically the principle, when you have, so the principle is of how to choose the jar. Yeah, so because you might not understand how big a jar you need here. So you would choose, my principle is to choose around 200 ml bigger jar in terms of volume than the weight of the ingredients. So if I have 300 something here, so half a liter jar should be fine. Yeah, I will explain why. So let's hope we have enough of the juices. And what I'm going to do here is a couple of handfuls go in, and then we press them down. Can do with your hand, but for me, easier to use my favorite tool. Got this amazing tool. If you want to know what it is, pop me a message. And we are not going to sort of crush the cucumber. Here, the goal is not to crush the cucumbers, yeah? So we're going to be gentle, but the goal here is to fit as much ingredients in one jar as possible, to exclude all the air bubbles, because we don't want oxygen. Remember, the conditions we're creating here, the environment we're creating here is without oxygen. And by pressing it, we physically create even more of the brine. So we have 3 goals here, yeah? So a couple of handfuls, press down, making sure that it's all nice and sort of snug there. Couple of more handfuls. Oops. And we do the same. Press down. As you can see, I'm pressing, and there's even more brine created. Just like that. Again, you don't need to crush anything. There we go. The principle here is to leave at least 2 centimeters, half an inch, at least free space from the top of the jar. Why that? Why do we need that space? Well, fermentation, how we know that fermentation has started, has begun. Usually the first indicator is bubbles, right? So around tomorrow, we're going, like within 24 hours, we're going to see bubbles. And very often, those CO2, that's CO2 that's created through fermentation, it might, most probably will, yeah, most often it does, it will push the ingredients up a little bit. Or what it might do is push the liquid, the brine, up. So you can, of course, fill it up to the brim, but then what you will experience that tomorrow it will start overflowing. So you would have to put something underneath to catch the liquids. I'm a pretty lazy person. You know, then you have to wash this, or if you forgot, then everything is dirty, you need to wash. I mean, I'm not really a fan of that. So what I do is, rather than filling it up and having something catching the liquid underneath, I leave a couple of centimeters of free space where there is space basically for all the activity to happen without overflowing. Bad idea to leave half of the jar empty. Yeah, so that's not a great thing, because the surface of the ferment is a vulnerable place, because underneath here there's no oxygen, everything is under brine, everything is safe, lactic acid bacteria is happily thriving and growing, killing pathogens, right? So here, if everything goes well, all pathogens, if any were here, will die eventually. But here, when we have lots of space, lots of oxygen, things might happen, especially if we're not very experienced and we don't really know sort of what to focus on, right? And that's why can create mold, or you could have some calm yeast. So I figured, like, why do we need that, right? So we don't want any pathogenic activity here, right? So we just leave a little bit of a little space here. So I'm reckoning that I'm gonna have a bit too much ingredients. There you go. And all the brine that's at the bottom, we want to use it. We do not want to discard it. So here I have, to be honest with you, I have a little bit more ingredients than I would ideally place into this jar, but that's okay. Sometimes you wouldn't be able to calculate exactly like 2 centimeters free space, yeah? So in this case, I might transfer my ingredients into a slightly bigger jar if I have it, right? Or 2 jars that will equally have a bit more space together. But I am going to leave it like this. Very important to clean the inside walls of the jar and make sure, and outside as well. I'm going to close the lid and rinse this jar, yeah? So there's nothing here. And push everything under brine. So I've got everything is happily floating in brine. That's enough. It doesn't have to be like lots of brine above the ingredients, right? But everything has to be floating. So we want to make sure that there is no bits and pieces sticking here to the jar walls and being exposed to oxygen, because again, anything exposed to oxygen will attract pathogens. We do not want that, right? So now I'm going to close the lid. So not ideal, but not too bad. So I'm guessing that if I'm being vigilant, yeah, so I'm going to be checking this a little bit more often than I would normally do, it wouldn't overflow. So I'm going to close this, and a bit later, I'm going to rinse the jar so there's no bits and pieces here and it's clean, and wipe it generally. I really like to put some labels here. Just to indicate when I've made this, and if I was experimenting, say, with some spices, I want to put that down as well. So later when I'm eating it and enjoying it, I know what's inside so I can replicate this, right? So what are we going to do next? We are going to leave this jar at room temperature, away from direct sun rays. So light is fine. So don't put it into airing cupboards or anything like that, because you're going to forget about it. It's going to rot. Not a great story. So light is fine. So somewhere at room temperature. Optimal temperatures for this would be probably from 18 plus degrees centigrades, up to 24, 25, 26. Yeah. This is a very fast ferment, so do not worry too much about that, the temperature. Obviously, if it's 40, probably it's going to be ready like within a half a second. Yeah, if your temperatures are soaring, if you're somewhere in Africa, soaring, DM me. Yeah, direct message me. I will give you a few tips how to bring the temperature down and how to allow this to ferment slower. Okay, because fast fermentation is not great in most cases. Anyway, so we'll leave it at room temperature, away from direct sun rays. Probably already tomorrow you will see bubbles. I am going to go to, I'm going to make stories on Instagram and have this sort of a report on the progress of this jar daily, right? It's probably 2-3 days until it's ready. So how do we know it's ready? A few days this will be bubbling. So you might, even if you have very tight lid, you might want to release the bubbles a little bit, that pressure. You will notice most probably that the ingredients will come up. So anytime anything sticking above the brine, you take your tablespoon, you open the jar, take a tablespoon and wash the surface, tucking everything under the brine. Yeah, once a day, this is enough for safety. If you have weights, perfect, just put the weights in. Not much you would need to do, to be honest with you. Do need to keep an eye on this ferment, okay? So anytime anything sticks out, or you see lots of bubbles on the side of the jar, and you will see that there's sort of like separation and lots of air pockets, then I would suggest also open the jar, take your tablespoon, and sort of press down and squeeze out those bubbles, so they release the bubbles basically. And again, tuck everything safely under brine, okay? Enough to do this once a day, so don't need to do 25,000 times a day. Yeah? So it will take probably, I don't know, 2 minutes. And of course, observe what's happening. So in 3, probably 4 days, yeah, I will report daily in stories, and it will all be together in one highlight. Recipes, it will be called recipes. So you will be able to check that that progress no matter when you're watching this video. And so at some point, probably 3-4 days, we're going to start tasting the cucumbers. The cucumbers will still be crunchy. They will, actually, I'm going to show you. They will, where is it? There you are. I've got some ready. You see, the colors will dial down a little bit. It's not going to be, they're not going to be as vibrant. It will, you see, sort of looks a little bit more moorish. Very crunchy, salted through. Yeah, so when you bite on that cucumber from here, it shouldn't feel like as if you're biting on fresh cucumber. Yeah, shouldn't be. So it's salted through like pickled cucumbers, and all the ginger, all the spring onion, and garlic, you can feel that. Yeah, so all the flavors combined, and it's really pleasant, refreshing, tasty, and crunchy. The minute it is like that, and there will be some reduction of sugar, because naturally cucumber has its own sugars, And the reduction of sugar means there's a little bit more of the sourness. So there will be also this pleasant sourness, right? Uh, that's the indication that it's ready. You put it in the fridge, enjoy. That's it. It will keep in the fridge for as long as it is tasty, because what happens in the fridge does not stop fermentation, it slows it down significantly. And what happens is that with time, this ferment will become more sour and more sour and more sour and more sour. At some point, it will be so sour, it will be just unpalatable. So basically it doesn't go off as such, but it does become very sour and not really tasty. Yeah. We can always repurpose our ferments. You don't need to throw away very sour ferment. That's not, sourness is not a problem. When this is in the fridge, you don't really need to care that much about keeping things under brine. So don't go checking. But anytime you're taking it out and, take some ingredients out, some cucumbers out for food, make sure to tuck everything before you put it back into the fridge. Make sure to tuck everything under the brine. Keep the walls clean. That way you will ensure your ferment keeps fresh and tasty longer. That's it. And this way you can ferment practically any veg.